Good morning, children. Hope you all are doing well. So, let's continue with the next part of our chapter. And in our previous part, we were on the definition of IMR, infant mortality rate. See, children, infant mortality rate, it indicates the number of children that die before the age of 1 year as compared to 1,000 children born in that particular year. Next is the literacy rate. It measures the proportion of literate population of the children who are above the age of 7 or 7 itself. And net attendance ratio, it is the total number of children of age group 14 to 15 who attend the school as a percentage of total number of children in the same age group. So apart from income, these are the three basic criteria that are to be measured for the development of any of the state or the district. Now, if we move on to our next page, and we can see there that is clearly given, like we were discussing yesterday, that it is not always sure that per capita income of a state decides that state is totally developed or is able to have full-fledged development in their own area. A state can be developed when such measures like infant mortality rate is controlled, when we talk of the literacy rate, it's upgraded, when we talk of the net attendance ratio, children at certain age are having an access to the education. So such factors play a very, very vital role when we talk of development. So development is really a vital factor in any of the state, and these factors are important and they are a complete part of development process. Next topic that you have is public facilities. See, even if you are the richest person of your state or even in your very small city of ours, it is not at all possible for that richest person to create the public facilities for every house in that particular city. Government definitely has to take the measures to provide the basic facilities to all the human beings of their country. And when we talk of these public facilities, they are infinite in number, whether those are government hospitals, those are government schools, whether those are the streets, roads on the streets, whether we talk of those street lights. There are many such government facilities which are required. These are termed as public facilities, which are required by every human being to carry on their journey to achieve their goal or to carry on their routine work also. So in lieu of the taxes that government collects from us, it's the duty of the government to provide us such public facilities, and without these public facilities, of course, development is not at all possible. Above all, government has to make sure that the three important factors that we have read, that is IMR or net attendance ratio or the literacy rate, they should be very much in control, and every person in the society should have the ability to have an access to the education. We should try and reduce the IMR. Government should have a good public distribution system, PDS, that you have learnt in your class 9th also. They should provide the basic health facilities to the people, not only to the middle or the richer class, even the poor should be able to afford such facilities. So public facilities government needs to deal in, and yes, they play a very, very important role in our development process. Now if you can see on this page, there are few questions given to you about the workout these exercises and an activity where a table is shown, and on the basis of this table you need to fill your paragraph. So please, this is your today's task. Complete this table. We'll discuss it whenever we'll have the class next. Now children, on the very next page you can see there are two important terms explained to you. One is BMI. BMI is referred to as the body mass index. When we take out the BMI, there is a formula that is applied to it. BMI is taken out by taking out the weight of the person in kilograms. Height that we take out in centimeters is to be converted into meters. And when we divide the weight of the person by the square of the height, remember we need to divide it by the square of the height, we get the BMI of a person. And BMI actually differs age wise from person to person. That complete table is given to you on page 90 to 91 of your book. But if we talk about BMI at your age, around 14 to 15 years, see, if a child has BMI less than 21 or 23, the child is considered, or even less than 25, so many times the child might be considered as undernourished. And if a child has a BMI above 25, child is considered to be an overweight child. So it's a task for you. Take out your own BMI and BMI of your family members and do learn how to actually maintain good health for you. Then they have explained you about human development report. See, a country's development cannot be judged by per capita income only. We have already discussed important factors that are to be kept in mind while deciding the development process of any of the country or the state or the city. So there are many important factors that play a vital role, and HDR do stress on these factors. If these particular factors are taken care of, they are managed well in any of the state, that particular state can be said to have a good HDR report. And what are these factors? These factors are the educational level of the people, the health status of the people, and of course the per capita income. So these three important factors, children, you need to learn. If you can see at the very end of the page, there's a definition given to you for these three factors that HDR considers to be very important for taking out the development status of any of the country or city. And when we talk of these three factors, of course, your human development report is based on these three factors only. And every person should have an access to these factors, and everyone should be able to afford these basic necessities of life. So I hope you must have understood this topic well. Now, if we move on to our next page, we have the topic of sustainability of development. See, children, when we talk of development, we have learned that development is a process wherein we progress and move a step ahead. But remember, if that development we are doing is at the cost of our resources, is at the cost of someone's life, that development cannot be justified. So sustainable word, when it is added to the development, it definitely means that you are doing the development, you are moving ahead, but taking care that the resources that you are using are available for the future generations too. So sustainable development means that we are developing our resources, we are utilizing our resources in such a way that we do conserve these resources for our future generations also to have an access to these resources. This is true sustainable development. For example, if I talk about the resource like water, see, there's an example given to you, groundwater in India. The depletion of ground level of water has gone worse day by day. And when we talk of this resource, if we waste it to a very larger extent, of course, our future generations will definitely not have an access to this resource, and their survival will become very, very difficult. And we in our lifespan will have to face such problems where the water that we have, it's free of cost available to us, we can afford it very easily. It will become very, very difficult for us to have an access to this kind of resource too. So we should take care of that such resources that are available to us on our earth, even if they are abundant, or many of the places we do lag behind such resources too, even if they are available to us in abundance, we should take care to conserve them, to preserve them, so that in our lifespan we are also able to use them further, and our future generations also have an access to these resources. Now, on the next page, if you can see, there is another example given to you: exhaustion of natural resources. See, the natural resources like petroleum, the natural resources like diesel that we extract from the very bed cover of our sea, those resources also, if we waste, if we misuse them, we can never have sustainable development in our country. We need to have crude oil reserves more and more for the production of petroleum and diesel, for the refining of this petroleum and diesel, but we must make sure that we should always preserve them, not misuse them. We should stop their wastage. And you know that crude oil is very essential for the development process in our country, and that is the reason. And apart from this, India has to import this crude oil to a very very large extent. We don't have any good sales production of this crude oil in our country. We need to get it from many of the Arabian countries, and that is the reason we should make the most appropriate use of such resources. So, whether those are renewable, whether those are non renewable resources, we must make sure that we give our best. And before these resources get exhausted, we must learn to conserve them and make it a habit to definitely make them sustainable for our future generations. So, children, I hope you must have understood this chapter by now. So learn it, listen, and understand every line of the chapter. Thank you, children.